Alright, so this is the first ever Q&A I've done, and I want to say a big shout out to all of you guys that asked me a big bunch of questions. I had absolutely loads and I was overwhelmed with all of them, so thank you very much. I'm going to do my best to answer most of them now, and if I don't answer your question, then next time I will. So let's jump into the first question. This is from Rachie JB, and she says, with all the phones you review, why do you always go back to an iPhone? And rv.ig follows that up with iOS or Android. There's kind of three reasons I always end up finding myself back on iPhone, so I'll do my best to explain those. The first reason is the iPhone keeps me connected to those closest to me the easiest. So what I mean by that is my partner uses an iPhone, my immediate family use an iPhone, most of my friends use an iPhone, and the various places I work, everyone generally uses an iPhone. So my life is easier if I just have an iPhone, and that's one of the first reasons. The second reason is that iOS apps are generally better quality than Android apps, and it's not Android's fault, this is purely on the developers, but I've had Android apps crash on me, like when I'm flying a drone for instance, which can be quite scary, and I haven't had that with an iPhone before, and the typical examples like Snapchat and Instagram stories just work way better on an iPhone, so that's another reason why. And the third reason is iPhone has kind of always been my phone. It's like the first smartphone I ever owned, and it feels like home base as such. I know that's a bit silly and sentimental, but whenever I go back on an iPhone, it feels like, back on my phone again. So that's the third reason. However, I do think Android phones are way better in some respects, screens, batteries, cameras, all those sorts of things. Android is absolutely killing it, but for me it makes most sense for me to use an iPhone, and you should use the phone that makes most sense to you. You shouldn't listen to someone like me, you should listen to yourself, and if you want an Android phone, you should get an Android phone, and if you prefer an iPhone, then just use an iPhone. Question number 2 is from Sam, and he asks, are you planning on releasing any t-shirts or something? The short answer to that is yes, and part of the reason I did this Q&A is to formally announce that I've got a small brand called Kiroku, and it's selling t-shirts and those sorts of things. It's heavily inspired by everything I do on this channel, so all of the dreamy colours and the Japanese sort of inspirations is all there. There's a link in the description below. It's the best way to support this channel, so if you want to, please go and check it out. Question number 3 is from Michael J. Lau, and he says, you've got a lot of props now, but which are your favourites? That's a great question. My favourite for a long time was this little juice box, which I still use a lot and I really like, and I think it's going off. It probably smells funny if you opened it. But to be honest, my favourite ones have been these two SNES boxes. They're really cool. It's one for Street Fighter 2 Turbo and one for Super Mario Bros. All Stars. You've seen them pop up absolutely loads if you watch my videos, and they're just awesome. They've got all the kanji on the side, and they're just great colours as well. They fit right in, so I use these a lot. They're probably my favourite props. AI Mantilus, sorry if I've got your name wrong there, says Xbox Series X or PS5? Another great question. I've always been a bit of an Xbox user. I had 360 and I've got an Xbox One X, but I did pick up a PS4 this time round, and I think objectively it's been the better console. It's had better games, and I've really enjoyed playing through some of them like God of War and Last of Us. So from that, I'm most likely going to pick up a PS5, but I'm excited to see what the Xbox Series X will do, and I've been a big fan of Halo, so I'll be excited to see what they do with that. So I imagine I'll end up with both, but a PS5 first for sure. GraphioCraft asks, do you think someone can get really good quality video to use on a tech review using only the camera for a flagship phone, and could I edit on the phone too? The short answer to that is yes, completely. I made a video on the Galaxy Note 10 using Samsung DeX, and I only used the phone to do that. I edited it on Premiere Rush and I shot the whole thing on the Note 10. The best example I can give you there for that is because phone cameras are great, but they can't give you those nice shots you see other tech YouTubers do. So it's good to focus on the story of what you're trying to sell instead, because getting those shots is going to be really tricky, but selling a story through what you're saying and what you're doing is easy, and that's how I would approach that sort of thing, which is kind of why I did a week with Samsung DeX for that video. It just made more sense. Question number 5 is from Lewis, and he asks, what is your favourite piece of art you have? My favourite piece of art is from an artist called Daiba Kato, and it's this girl wearing a Sega t-shirt. It's really nice. I picked it up off Instagram. He's well worth checking out on Instagram, and it's just really nice, so that's possibly my favourite bit. I've got lots of other pieces up there I really like, but that's probably the standout at the moment. I got this next question quite a lot. It's from Ian. It says, how do you get the creamy colour vibe in your videos? Val says, how do you find that style of editing? And David follows that up with how do you get your spare clean aesthetic. The real way of getting my videos to look how they do is usually thanks to the props and the environment I make when I'm filming videos. So usually I'll make this desk into a big area and I'll lay down a flat piece of card with a certain color on it. And then I'll use all these props that I've got to kind of dress the scene as such. And then most of the color and most of the vibes come from that. I also add a huge amount of grain. It's like my secret weapon, so I'll always drizzle in a big bunch of grain, and that generally gives me the vibes that I get. So if you're looking to do something similar, it's all in the environment. I'll obviously push it in the edit as well. I'll make sure the colors stand out, but that's kind of how I get that vibe. James asks, any video ideas that you wish to do that doesn't align with your usual content? The answer to that is yes, completely. I would really like to do like more retro camera reviews and things like that. Digital Rev TV used to be my favorite YouTube channel when they would do the analog rev, and I took a lot of inspiration from there. So that's something that I would love to explore more, but it doesn't line up massively. I know some people would appreciate it, but not everybody. So it's a tricky one. I almost started another channel for it completely, but I just don't really have the time to put enough effort into both to make it good. So yes. Ben from Lover of Tech asks, what's the most stressful part of your video creation process? The most stressful thing I find is not having the right footage to marry up with what you're saying in the script. So if I've wrote something comparing two products that I might not own, then showing that on screen is really tricky, and I can't make it fit with my current like aesthetic, so I'll have to grab the video from elsewhere and it never fits right. And generally speaking, I'll just use a big long piece of B-roll, and you could probably point it out if you looked hard enough, but that's what I find most stressful, when you don't have something which marries up exactly with what you're saying. Omar asks, what's your thoughts on Apple's designing their own processors for their computers and laptops? I think it's great. I think it was inevitable. They were going to move over to do it at some point, but I think it's going to be great for the consumers. As soon as everyone moves over to that new Apple architecture or the ARM processors, we're going to get slimmer laptops with better battery life, with better graphics and all those sorts of things. It's a really great thing. It's going to be awesome. I hope it moves Windows in that direction as well. And yeah, I'm up for it. Next question is, I want to start making tech videos. What tips do you have? And by the way, I love your videos. Thank you very much. My advice is to just start doing it. And that sounds really stupid and simple, but it really is the best advice. When I look at my first video, I uploaded that purely because I wanted to start a tech YouTube video. And I look back and laugh at it now, but at the point it was a growing pain you have to go through. So my advice is to just start it, but to start it mindfully. So speak about something that you're actually interested in. Don't try and comment on a massive topic that you might not be too clued up on. Pick something small, something that you really love, and chat about it, and that will come across in the video and it'll feel really authentic. So that's my advice. So those are the main questions. We're now into the quickfire round, which are smaller ones. First one is from Dan Morris. He asks, knowing your past in music, have you ever considered filming music videos? I've helped Sam film some music videos in the past, but it's not something I've ever pursued. If it came up and all the right things fell into place, then I'd go for it, but it's not something I'm actively seeking. Basement Noise asks, when are you going to announce that you've been paid by Apple? If I do that, they'll stop paying me, so obviously I can't say that. Ricardo asks, precision or jazz bass? Jazz bass, every time. iPad Pro 2018 or 2020? You can only buy the 2021 brand new, so probably that, but I've got the iPad Pro 2018 and I think it's pretty much just as good as apart from the cameras. So if you can get a 2018 one for cheaper, then get that. The difference really is minimal. Lewis asks, I'm about to upgrade my iPhone. What should I get, an 11 or a 10R? Get an 11, it will last you longer. Next question is, what are my favorite games? I can list you off my favorite ones. So my favorite is BioShock, that's number one, the first one. God of War for PS4 and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for Nintendo Switch. Only Riggs asks, what Sony profile do you shoot videos in? Great question. I use Cine 4, but more specifically I use PP10, Cine 4 on the Pro color thing, and then I up the saturation by 3 or 4, and that just gives me a really usable image. And Ben from Lover of Tech asks, when are we going to collab? Soon, ma'am. We just need to find out what we want to do. That rounds up all the questions. Thanks so much for submitting them. I was overwhelmed with the amount that I had, so it was really great to see that. Sorry if I didn't get round to yours. I'll try and get round to it next time if we do this again. If you wanted to check out the Kiroku stuff, then please do. The link's in the description. Have a look and see what you think. And that rounds this off. So if you enjoyed the video, do pop a like. If you loved it, pop a sub on the way out. That helps me out massively. And I will see you all in the next one.